Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the latest of our digital roundtables at CCA. I'm delighted to be partnering today with Oracle, who have been partners of CCA over the last few years in our thought leadership programs, and particularly in the whole field of digital transformation, which I know has been a big topic over the last few years, but over the last 6 months seems to have probably as much as has happened in some senses over many years. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm delighted so many of you are able to join us today. I'm going to do a quick introduction. I'm going to hand over then to Alan from Oracle, who's our co-host today, just to say a few words. And then I thought we'd just go round the table. I'm fortunate enough to be lots of faces just now. Well, actually I can't without my glasses. I'm glasses on, glasses off this morning, because some of it I need for writing and some of it I need for the screen. I need to get a new prescription, I think. And I'll go around and we'll do a quick introduction to everybody. And then we're going to open the floor to some questions. And I think that's obviously the structure. The hour will fly by, as I'm sure, and I'm sure we'll have more to say than minutes to see them. So hopefully we manage to get through a chunk of everything. I hope everybody's well. Just as I thought, we sometimes launch into these things and we forget that we're living in incredibly troubled times, and everybody's got their woes and things that are going on. So we've got some positive stuff as well. Lots of people are, I think, are adapting really well and finding a lot of joy in this situation. Others are really, really struggling. So I think at this juncture, it's just a point to say that this hour really is for some good discussion. If you don't want to say anything, please just listen. That's not a problem at all. If you want to take part, then please do. I know that some of the faces we have here, we won't have any problem in getting some good discussion going. Pauline, just to check, we are recording, yeah?
We are, so as long as everyone's okay with that. Yep, we are recording, and we can share it afterwards as well. So.
Yeah, so we'll share the recording afterwards, and we'll also share it around the rest of our network afterwards as well. So just so everybody's aware that the recording will be shared, so that you know that in advance. So today's topic really is, have we, I suppose in simple terms, have we catapulted ourselves to a digital future without necessarily the anticipated and essential channel framework? And I suppose by that we mean that have many of the things that have happened in haste, if you like, have they been things that we were anticipating before and have just sort of speeded them up? Or are there some things that have been kind of unexpected that have happened in our organisations as an absolute necessity, some of which have been good, and perhaps some which, in retrospect, we might wish to recalibrate or reset a little bit. So that's the kind of focus for today's conversation. You'll notice we've got some questions, and we'll try and get through that. I suspect the questions will merge into one because they're all relatively simple questions. So they're similar rather than simple. Some more relevant to some organisations than others, but important that we hear your views. So I'm going to just hand over to Alan just to say a couple of words from Oracle. Alan Brooks is director at Oracle and is our co-host. And Alan and I have shared platforms on several occasions. So welcome to Alan.
You're on mute.
Mute.
Didn't I? Okay. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. I was saying, you can probably tell I'm from Oracle. I finally got my background around the right way so that it reads correctly. So yeah, I just wanted to say welcome. Let me tell you what I do. I run one of the B2C customer experience teams at Oracle, tending to cover retail, travel, hospitality. Really, people from Oracle on the call, certainly myself, are really looking forward to hearing your views on the topics today. It's really important to myself and my team that we understand what our customers and other organisations are actually thinking and saying. So really looking forward to hearing from you rather than maybe you hearing from me. And maybe as a result of today, we might get a chance to continue to engage in discussions going forward. So I really didn't want to say much more than that because I'd like to get into the meat of the discussion. So I'll just say thank you once again for attending and hand back to Anne-Marie.
Okay, thank you, Alan. And your sign's definitely round the right way. You're fine today. And you've got no bits coming out your ears as well. That's always a scary thing, isn't it, when you put the backgrounds on? Okay, let's just start to do some quick introductions. And what I want to do, just to kick things off, I want to do a quick introduction, but I want to cover off one of the questions in the introduction, which I think will help us get into the discussion a bit more quickly. And I want to ask you, just think about it, don't think too deeply about it, but on a scale of 1 to 5, how much of what has changed during the pandemic, in other words, the things that you've changed will remain in place afterwards. Now, this isn't a trick question or scientific question. Just as, some organisations might be a 1, they haven't changed very much. They're not likely to change an awful lot. Things are as they are. Some are a 5, they've changed a lot, and loads of it they think, oh my gosh, we should have changed this years ago, we're going to kind of stay with this. So scale of 1 to 5, 1 not at all, 5 quite a bit. If you don't want to answer, don't worry, but I think it might be quite interesting as we go round, if we to do that. So this is always a difficult bit because I can see some people and I can't see others. So what I'll do is I'll just do a kind of teacher roll call, and if you just give your rank and serial number and tell us who you are, and maybe just give us a clue to that first question. So I'll start with, we all know Pauline, we know myself, but we know Pauline. Alan's introduced himself. So if I can turn to Jeffrey.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeffrey De Rosario. Good morning, from International SOS. I'm the Director of Customer Experience and Digital Enablement. So what does that mean? I've joined the Government Services Division within International SOS exactly 1st of November 2019. But I've been in International SOS already 12 years. My task is to focus on self-service as much as possible. So that's the digital enablement part, and maintaining, obviously, the customer experience. So to the question, I would say 4. And what has changed? Many things that we thought were impossible, we were forced to make them possible, like working from home. In some cases also from the contact center. And being a government services division, we are all about security. And so there were things that we thought were impossible, like working from home and ensuring the same level of security. But then we were forced, so it worked. And I put 4 and not 5 because on one side we saw that it's possible working from home, but at the same time we realized also that how important it is to still come to the office now and then to maintain the relationships between the people. So it's to maintain a sense of belonging to the company. So that's the 4. Like I think we'll continue with the working from home because people are happy, they don't have to commute, but at the same time they need still the human touch.
That's good. It's interesting. I guess you guys must be really busy just now, Jeffrey, with everything that's going on. I mean, at the end of the day, you are a rescue type organisation and many people are anxious. So.
I would say that February, March and April were quite hectic. Then there was a bit of pause, I would say. But now there is all the return to work programs. And we are actually opening also the domestic market because people are not really traveling a lot from country to country, but are going back to work.
Yeah.
So quite interesting.
Interesting time. Thank you for that, Jeffrey. Okay, so Colleen Barker. Colleen, are you there?
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Brilliant. You never know, do you? Yeah, hi, my name's Colleen Barker. I work for Yorkshire Building Society. I'm probably... My key role really is around encouraging self-service, but I think more from an operational perspective, so looking at how can we engage with our frontline, have those, I guess, cultural shifts so that they're having the right conversations to ultimately enable customers to get online and be those kind of self-serving customers for all the more simplified transactions as we kind of move into a more complex world from a frontline perspective. I think we're probably a bit of an outlier from an operational perspective, as in we weren't able to to move any of our telephony to home working. So we've moved a lot of the head office and back office functions, so still a significant number of colleagues working from home. But from a technology point of view, we weren't able to move our telephony operations. So that's proved significant challenges as we've kind of moved from, from the pandemic and the numbers of people who've been impacted. That's something that we're looking to address as things move forward, and that runway has probably been accelerated a little bit as a result of COVID. I think some of the things that we've done, I'll probably put us at a 3, and that's probably because we haven't done as much as we would like to. So there have been some things we've done around multi-skilling our operation that's really supported where we've had different challenges that we absolutely would want to maintain. We've shifted really, really quickly into some of the online tools that our customers are able to access, particularly around the mortgage holiday. And I think that kind of sentiment around being able to mobilise quickly where everyone's pulling in the same direction is something that the digital strategic team specifically are looking to, I guess, to harness that kind of enthusiasm and everybody moving in the same direction. And I just think operationally we made a lot of changes as to how we communicate with each other. So we implemented Teams, for example, which we didn't have previously. So we have made some significant changes from an infrastructure as to how we stay connected. And I think the next step is how that we can then operationalise our front line to be able to be that more flexible workforce as we move forward.
Yeah, good. So can you put a figure against that at all, Colleen, or are you too early?
Yeah, it's, as in between 1 and 5.
Yeah.
Is that what you? Sorry, yeah. So I put us at a 3, if that's kind of if that's kind of where you're heading. Probably because we haven't maybe leveraged as much as we would like.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you for that. Andrea, are you there? I can't see you. Andrea, are you there? Oh, she's there, but not listening. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name's Andrea Shaw. I represent Fexco. I work as the solutions consultant for multiple contact centres, and I'm new to the role. So we've had a lot of changes, obviously due to COVID, and I would rate it how we've moved with the changes as a 3.5, similar to, I think, Jeff's comment around there's been some things that we've had to absolutely implement that we probably had been scheduled like later in the year, but we've had to bring like a lot of those things forward just due to COVID. So yeah, that's my reason for 3.5. I also might have to drop off. I apologise for that, but I'll try and join back in. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. Okay, so got Andrea. Catherine Lennon, are you there?
Hi there, Catherine Lennon, Irish Water. So I'll actually give 2 figures instead of 1, but I think for, I suppose just to give some background on me, I'm the vendor performance manager for Irish Water in relation to the contact centre. But at the moment, my primary role is a transition. We are in the middle of COVID, also transitioning our contact centre from one provider to another. So home working is creating lots of challenges for us. For our contact centre, I would probably rate it at a 3. We were able to move very quickly to home working as a full solution, with the exception of the mailroom. And we've remained there, and to be perfectly honest, we're not really expecting that to come back in any way, great shape or form, because we will be moving contact centre in late January. But it has then posed challenges for the transition, because obviously you're now transitioning people who are working from home into another working from home solution when that's not actually what we tendered for. So that's proving interesting. What it does mean is that our kit has completely changed. So we are now having to move to a home working and a laptop-based solution, having gone from Wise terminals across the board into now being a solid laptop-based business. We would look to retain some element of flexibility going forward, but the larger change for us will be actually in the BCP environment and in the 24/7, 365. and the capability to maybe not necessarily have a functioning contact centre open beyond 8 o'clock in the evening, that out of hours is delivered from home rather than having to have that within an office environment. And that our DX site has proven to not be of use for a pandemic, and therefore our enduring BCP solution will change as well. For Irish Water, I would say we're probably at a 4, contact centre wise at a 3. There will be substantial changes within Irish Water. Equally, we don't expect to go back to the office 5 days a week going forward. It will be a hybrid model. Also, there will be flexibility, I think, within regional offices more so than there was previously. And the issue for us really has been around VC tools and the fact that there's no consistency with our providers and our suppliers. So some are on Teams, some are on Zoom, some are on Google, and that's interfered with our Citrix and our ability to access some of those. So that's been a challenge for us as well. But overall, it's been very positive. It does, I think, remove, particularly for a project, that collaboration element, and makes comms a bit more difficult. But overall, I think it's positive for us.
Good. Thank you for that, Farid.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi there, hi everyone. So I'm Farid Munson. I work in Alan's team at Oracle, focusing on CX applications, predominantly across the retail sector. I personally think that a lot will be changing going forwards. I think from a consumer's perspective, people have changed their shopping habits. We've all seen that. We all know that. I would imagine, and we're probably all doing it ourselves. People are expecting the shopping experience to be quicker, easier, and critically fulfilled much quicker. So I think there'll be a lot of the learnings, a lot of the changes that people are going through at the moment will continue to move forwards. I think we're going to see a lot more technology and solutions springing up, trying to bring the shopping experience into people's homes in a much more experiential kind of way, and that's really where so I think it's quite a high score. So I'll probably give it around a 4, which I think is what companies should be driving towards.
Yeah. And can I just ask, do you think a lot of this is to do with there was that trend happening anyway around retail? I mean, it would be crazy to think it wasn't happening. And it has sort of pushed it in this direction. But do you think that customer expectations do you think that they are rising, or do you think that they're sort of feeling like they're just grateful to get something just now? What do you think is going to come out at the end of this? Do you think we're going to become much more savvy as consumers?
I think there's probably you could probably segment that answer. I think there may, and it might even be something along either different demographic groups where there may be people who are feeling potentially, certainly at the beginning of lockdown or when all this started, there might be a feeling of grateful that things are still, that they can still get things, that things can still be delivered. I think that might be shifting now to a point where people have an expectation of delivery, have an expectation of the service they're expecting from businesses. And I can only see those expectations growing going forwards. I think particularly fulfillment is going to continue to be the key driver here, and that's not just fulfillment in service, but fulfillment in products as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the sense that we're getting from the network is complaints are on the rise. People are getting a little bit impatient with COVID as an excuse for no service. So I think that then begs the question, what do we need to do to shape up services if we are truly moving more to a digital world beyond service, if you like? So I think there's a lot of meat in that discussion to be had. Okay, Gillian. Absolutely. Sorry, Faye. Gillian, are you? Hello, Gillian. Can I see you?
Yep. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going for me there. Is it the other Jill? No, you don't, Gillian. I wondered if I was the only one.
I was about to say Gillian on my left, but that means nothing to you.
Well, sure, I'm on mute, so I'll go. So good morning, everyone. My name is Gillian McCautry. I'm Head of Service Operations for PowerNI. So I'm responsible for the contact centres of our brands in Northern Ireland and the Energia brand in the Republic of Ireland. I'm going to go really big here and give my rating a 5, I would say. Like, obviously COVID's been horrendous. A horrendous story, but it's been a real silver lining, I think, in terms of, you know, the direction of travel that I would like to see for us. It's forced us to do loads of stuff that would have taken years in the old world, so speeded everything up. The collaboration with, you know, our technology teams and getting things done has been brilliant. So sort of day one, we started with 0 home working capability in the contact centre, and sort of quickly ramped up to about 65% over a sort of 3-month period. And this week we will be 100% have full capability, but I would suspect and imagine that we'll continue to work in this hybrid environment that seems to work really well with people who are suited to working from home. There's people who are suited to working in the office, and probably the majority want a blend of both. You know, you miss that organic learning and conversations in the office when you're at home full time. So I would expect that the changes we've made there will continue on into the future. And staff are happy, I think, with that. They don't have expectations to be working from home fully. So that's been well managed. We've made real good inroads on the self-serve side of things. So we'd sort of done a few projects this past year to try and enhance the online experience. And then it's that sort of education for customers, and COVID has helped with that because we've been pushing them onto the digital side. There's so much more that we can do there. I just think it's really exciting. As a sort of an energy utility supplier, you know, it's there's lots of low complexity, high volume transactional stuff that they're ringing us about. They don't need to ring us for, so we're working really hard to try and make that that easier for customers. And in fact, that's our motto, is making energy easier. It's very simple, and you know, this has given me the leverage to kind of help deliver on that side. So as a business, we're operating as if there's no pandemic. I mean, it's back to the new norm is now completely BAU. You know, we're selling, where customers are switching to us. Projects are continuing, innovation is massively on the agenda, and the digital journey is massively on the agenda. So COVID has helped with that, and as I say, you know, I would like to see the changes we've made stay, and in fact, you know, deliver more on that front. So yeah, it's been bad but great at the same time from a business point of view.
Oh, that's good. Thank you for that, Gillian. It's really, really inspiring, actually, just listening to that. What does it mean for your technology investment then? Does it mean that, you know, have you had to radically alter things, or? You know,
yeah, and I think I think we're probably heading into a phase of scrabbling for whose is the highest value piece of work. You know, there's definitely very much right up to exec level, we need to be doing this. So it's a case of highest value wins. So the sharp elbows are coming out now to try and to push forward. And I think our difficulty will be, because we're sort of working virtually, you know, there's a risk that you drift back into sort of siloed working. The collaboration is difficult. So I think, you know, we'll all be knowing what we want to do across the business, but there's the higher level sort of helicopter view of how it all joins up, how it all weaves together, and that's going to be frustrating, I think, for us as a business, that, you know, we're really keen to keep driving this forward, and, you know, trying to just ensure that the message is clear that's going up, and that across the business we're working together to make sure there's no duplication and we're all sort of pushing in the same direction. So it's exciting, but it's so much change to be navigating through that I think, you know, it'll just have to be very carefully handled and led.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I will come back to you later on. I think I've probably some questions around what can we learn for other sectors in that, and how do we avoid the elastic band type thing. In a way, there are a lot of people who want to spring back, aren't there, to spring back to where we were, whereas we now probably need to think of what are the elements that we want to keep rather than spinning back. Okay, who haven't we heard from? Joe? Joe, are you there?
Hiya, hello. Sorry, I've had to turn my video off because you all keep freezing on me. So I think my internet connection is a bit dodgy. I work for the NHS Business Services Authority. So you might sort of recognise us. We're synonymous with prescriptions and payment platforms. And we look after NHS Jobs, the website, and the work that goes on behind that. And also NHS pensions. We've got a variety.
We're losing you just a little bit, Joe. I don't know whether...
variety of support for nationally. During COVID, we contact centre services. Have I frozen?
Your voice just went a little bit. You're back now, I think. If you just keep going.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we've set up quite a number of contact centre services, including supporting 111 and COVID response line. And also a lot of our other services needed additional help during this time. So we managed to step up quite a lot of self-service around the digital arena, working with NHS Digital and NHSX, supporting things that you're now seeing coming through with the testing and tracing app. We've changed a lot. We all work from home. There's about 3,000 of us, and I'd say about 2,900 of us are now working from home. So that's a capability we didn't realise we had, same with most of you. We've also broken down the barriers from managed to push things, managed to really work on our relationships, and as a result of doing some great work. And I think what we've noticed, one thing we have noticed is that we need to be kinder and more human in our response. And we've noticed a lot of our customers appreciate that because they are operating as we are in very trying conditions. So empathy, humanness is a real theme that we're trying to work on. In terms of change, probably about 3.5, 4. We're going to keep a lot of breaking down the barriers for change, and we're continue with the technology and the self-serve, but also the humanness. We're just finishing off a customer experience and innovation strategy, and that's very much influenced by recent events, but also how we can make things better and look for greater opportunities.
Thanks for that, Joe. For those of you who, when you see the term NHS Business Services, I don't think many of us realise the enormity of the organisation. It's huge. It's running so many different services for the NHS. 30 separate big contact centres all around. Huge amount of stuff that's going on. Last week we had an amazing session with Mike, your chief exec, who talked about the need to be human. And I would urge, I think, and Pauline, I'm right in saying we have that recorded, haven't we? Yeah?
We do, yep, we do.
If anybody on the call wants to access that to find out more about this, I think it's a brilliant one for you to listen to. It tells you just about the organisation and just all that it does. I was quite frankly blown away. I've known you guys for quite some time now, but I had no idea of the enormity of what you deal with. So I now know, and that's good. So thank you for that intro, Joe. Jonathan, Where's Jonathan?
Hi, Marie. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. You obviously know me from the past, but I've just switched jobs recently. So I'm working for NHS 24 in a service development capacity. Yeah. So I'm only here 1 week today. So I won't profess to speak on behalf of the whole organisation because I'm only a small cog in a bigger machine. But as Joe said, obviously there's been lots of change, and I think my take on it is that there's been a lot of change through necessity, and a lot of it is about utilising existing processes and systems and refining and adapting those very, very quickly. And I think the key challenge is to learn from this process and strained environment that we find ourselves in and adapt our strategy for the future, because a lot of things that were maybe on track to be delivered at a later stage had to be accelerated. So yes, a lot of change through necessity, and the key thing for us or NHS 24 is to learn as an organisation and equip ourselves for the future. So I'm not going to score it, but I think you could probably guess.
We'll let you off.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Jonathan. Mary Sullivan, we can see you there.
Morning, how are you?
Oh, good, thank you.
So my name is Mary Sullivan. I work in FEXCO. Predominantly FEXCO is actually a fintech organisation, so that's where kind of cash cow predominantly was, but we're based in the outsourcing division. So my role is customer solutions lead in the transformation services team. I'm actually going to go against Andy in her 3.5, even though we work on the same team, and give us a 4. I think that we've really accelerated our pace of change and growth since March. We're in the middle of a transition from on-prem telephony to cloud when the lockdown happened. And actually, magically, things happened much quicker than any of us ever anticipated. And I think that, you know, it's probably been, as Gillian said, we've probably had that silver lining from COVID, because as a business, we've been able to transform much quicker. We've broken down the barriers from a security side, from GDPR. Our clients' relationships have become much more stronger. There's much more of a partnership approach, you know, so I think that that's probably helped us quite significantly. I think that the reason why we're not out of 5 is because the employee engagement piece still needs to really be at the forefront of our minds. You know, we've have a hybrid model of 50-50 in versus on-site. And it's just balancing that constantly between making sure we're checking in with them, you know, what strategies are we implementing to make sure we're engaging with them, and it's constantly evolving. But what I would say as well, and we've gotten really good feedback from it, is our first virtual training group took place in August, and it actually was outside of our predominantly where we are based in Southern Ireland geographic region. We actually went to different counties for the first time, and there was a bit of nervousness and cautiousness around it, but it's actually turned out in our favour. They're very positive feedback from the group. So I think that that's where our business strategy is going to go going forward. We're also, I suppose, trying to de-risk ourselves from the over-reliance on voice. So as part of the next steps for the transformation team is, what does the digital strategy look like, and how can we bring our customers on that, our clients on that journey with us? So we have a bit to go, but definitely as horrible as COVID has been personally for everybody, and a professional side there that has that silver lining has definitely been there.
Yeah, good. Thank you for that, Mary.
It's interesting, actually. We used to always joke that the outsourcing division was the poor fourth or fifth cousin, because the currency market was, and the technology space was where FEXCO was. But, you know, we nearly carried business during the COVID lockdown. And I think that that's actually probably internally changed the perception of the outsourcing division, which is a real positive for us. And there's, you know, that synergies that we've created. We're partnering FEXCO overall at the moment with the customs for the Brexit transition, so the SMEs, and it's working as a business, as a group, and the outsourcing division is playing a significant role in that. So I definitely think that customer service, both probably internally and externally with our clients, is viewed much differently than what it would have been pre-COVID.
Yeah, good, excellent. It's good to hear about that. It's a common thing, isn't it? We're hearing that the stock of customer experience, customer service, whether it's centralised, home working, hybrid, hub and spoke, you know, whatever it is, voice, non-voice, it all is rising just now as people are seeing the importance of relationships, which is good. Okay, Rocky, are you still here, patiently waiting?
Yep, I am. Thank you. So my name is Rocío Mendo. I work for Glory Global Solutions, and I am the manager for the sales support team. For us, the main change was the fact of working from home. Regarding equipment, we had been for years with laptops, for example, so it was not an issue for us. There's been an issue, obviously, with broadband and all those technical issues that people have. And luckily, the business, we went into cloud well before COVID. So in that sense, and we're with Oracle, by the way, and that, in that sense, we were okay. The main issue has been the interaction between the teams, because Teams, Skype, all that is all good, but it's not the same as being in the office and walking up and talking to people. So it has been and it still is the biggest issue. So I'll say we are on a 4, roughly. The idea is, as a business, that we know we're not going to go back to what it was before, 100% in the office. So we're working to see whether it is 75%, 25%, like 2 days or 3 days in the office, or other way around. But in general, I think we have not been affected in as much as because we deal with international customers, the majority of the communication has always been via email. So in that sense, customers have not seen any different relationship or any delays in that sense. However, obviously, as you were talking, Anne-Marie, at the beginning, the COVID excuse is running thin now. And even though there are, lockdowns in several countries because, I don't know, ports or airports have delays, they are not that keen to hear the excuse, to be perfectly honest. So it's quite hard in that sense. What can you say if that is the truth?
Yeah, I agree totally with that. It's a really unique situation, isn't it? Where it sort of reminds me a little bit of when we had really bad snowstorms and bad weather conditions throughout Europe, and everybody wasn't working, but those who weren't working expected to be served in the same way. And so it is always the case, isn't it, that people who are working and serving customers are expected always to provide all the time. There's no downtime. Now, it's an exciting place of the business to be in, but right now it's really, really challenging. And I think that's something that's coming through all of this, is that it is difficult to perform the work when you're subject to local lockdowns and all these different things. But at the same time, there's a huge expectation by a consumer base who kind of doesn't really make the link that in order to get served, people have to do things and perhaps put themselves at risk in the same way as supermarkets or whatever else. It's an interesting sort of scenario, if you like, that's here just now, that's with us just now. And I know that you're in Madrid. Obviously, how are things with you?
No, I am in the UK.
Oh, you're in the UK just now. Sorry,
I'm Spanish, but I live here in the UK.
No, I thought you said at the beginning you were in Madrid. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Okay. So we've got Wojciech left, I think, patiently at the top there.
Hello, my name is Wojciech. I'm part of the Oracle team, and I work with the likes of Alan and his team and Farid as a solutions consultant. So my role is focusing on technology side of things, from what is our core technology, but as well as what is the emerging stuff at the horizon. So looking at the twofold of I guess 2 hats I'm usually wearing. In terms of my score, I'm going to put it as 5. I personally don't believe there is coming back to what the life was. I think this is going to be essentially driving some sort of evolution from the way we think and the way we perceive the world. And I think, the going forward, the normal is never going to be, as it was pre-COVID. So I think, the change and the expectations and the behavior of customers that are, facing so many changes in their, how they live at home and how they treat home as an office now, how they learn, how they shop, and so on. I think, that is just driving the change in terms of how we're going to be transacting and all those things that it's essentially, in my opinion, is going to be the next step of our evolution as a species in terms of what, what's going to happen and how we're going to sort of come out of it. Because yes, 6 months has been already, but it looks like there's going to be potentially another 6 months. And I think as a human being, you know, going through the adaptation of and adapting to that reality, it's going to leave a mark on us, and it's just going to be you know, new ways of working, and we kind of going to be embracing that going forward. And I think it's in some cases, obviously, embracing digital channels, it's been huge and you know, been massive. But I think, you know, people are also, in terms of the shopping, they become more conscious. I think there's, you know, a drive to buy a bit more, to be, you know, looking at what is more local in terms of the sourcing, and I myself, you know, try to even, you know, look a little bit more in terms of what are the local you know, produce and I can source. So I think, you know, it's a great shift, but I think it's the one that was needed, because I think we were a little bit carried away of how we were taking things for granted, and I think we needed a shake up. And in COVID, unfortunately, it's a dramatic and huge one. But I think you know, it was sort of the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, it's a really interesting take, isn't it? And I mean, so many, you know, I saw an interesting article a few weeks ago, and it had listed all the things that were wrong before COVID. People felt, you know, dehumanized in their work, for example, traveling long traveling with long days and never seeing their children, artificially putting children into lots of after school things, that particularly because people were working rather than because they wanted to do it. And congestion, obviously, cost, never being able to be near your work, and then gorging on things you didn't want to make up for the time that you didn't have. So, you know, if you're spending sort of 12-hour days traveling and working and traveling, you tend to indulge more in other things that perhaps you don't need. And so all of that on one side, and then, oh, it has magically helped, that is one way of looking at it. But then you've got to then think about factor in all for people who those weren't problems for, who love doing the things and have nice existences, they really feel quite bereft and grieving for the world that they've left behind. So it's by no means a simple thing. It's the people some people will love it and some people won't. I'm going to turn on to the question that we've kind of answered the first question, and I wonder if we can move to, it would be interesting to have a little look at the digital piece, because we've all talked about this sense of becoming more digital, which some companies are totally, and you know, don't have to think about it. But what I really want to hear about, what's the thing that either expected or unexpected that has become digital in your organisation, or you're doing now that you just didn't think you could do before? And we heard a wee bit, I think, from Gillian earlier. I mean, we heard from, for example, Calmac, the ferry people who run ferries in Scotland, and they were talking about the fact that it just kind of light bulb moment, they put all their refund processes on a self-serve thing, never thinking they could before. There was always 100 reasons why they couldn't, and they did it, and it worked much better than it had ever worked before. So they've saved themselves money, and they've got a plus. And I wonder just what, you know, in your organisations, what are the things that have just escalated forward that either were planned for a long way ahead or weren't planned at all? Is anybody happy to pitch in with any of that? Anybody got anything? No? No? Jeffrey?
What I can say, this COVID didn't change it, in the sense we already had in the plans from the beginning of the year to change our operating model and push a lot more on self-service. But this uniquely to move work from the centralized teams to localized teams. So what we want to, in the new operating model with our biggest contract from the 1st of September 2021, we want to have more people on the ground to support and face-to-face. So let's hope September 2021 it will be possible to actually help our customers in more complex situations. Because we are talking about people that are in foreign countries. So there may be some cultural differences, some expectations that they have from at home that they don't have in the new country. So that's why our new operating model will be more people handholding them. And that's why we have to shift fundamentally costs from a centralized team that does primarily administrative work to human touch stuff. So that's why my responsibility is actually to build a new app for our beneficiaries, and try with chatbot, with eventually live chat, but even there it's not self-service, but especially with chatbot. So if there's anybody in this forum has deployed chatbot functionality, please raise the hand, and I'll harass them to get more information. So great. Yeah, I see the consultants raising the hands. And
we're looking at it, Jeffrey, but if you get there first, I'll be coming after you to see
lovely.
see how you got on.
Lovely. So I would say COVID didn't change much. It's more trying to self-serve as much as possible. So that's where we did all the user journeys and so on, and see, okay, where are the moments where the customer really doesn't want to self-serve. And so we always give the possibility to either live chat, either to call. So it has to be, we don't want them to call, but we don't want to hide too much in order not to frustrate the beneficiary.
Yeah, good.
So
good.
quite exciting.
Alan, let me turn to you. You deal obviously with loads of organisations, and I know you've been incredibly busy over the last 6 months. So what's your thoughts on this? What are people asking for, and what's been the biggest change?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things. I just want to pick up on Jeffrey talked about a new operating model, business operating model. And I was talking to a retailer the other day who said that overnight they became a pure play. It hadn't really occurred to me to look at it like that. All their stores were closed, so they became a pure play overnight. And they had to work out a way of moving what was 8-10% of their business that was traditionally online to more like 30 or 40%, which is a huge piece of work, and it will take a long time to get. There's all sorts of challenges with supply chain and everything, returns, the whole lot. But it is clearly, I mean, someone said the other day that there's nothing like crisis to drive innovation. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing just a huge move to transform everything digitally. You talked about chatbots. That's been one of the key areas that people have been inquiring about or working with us on. So yeah, I mean, right across the board, really. I was just thinking about some of the other aspects that we were talking about earlier on. What our customers are trying to do is now meet customers where they are. Yeah. Which is why there's this big drive to online. We're seeing big e-commerce, of course, is increasing hugely. And this big drive to home delivery, click and collect as well. So we're seeing big drive to meet customers where they are. A huge focus on, and I think Joe talked about humanness, which is an interesting, I hadn't looked at it that way, is a big drive, big focus on care and concern. I think customers are looking at how organizations treat their people as a view to how they will get treated themselves, which is an interesting concept. There's sort of this switch from reaching out with support rather than marketing as well. We're seeing that. Just look at the TV ads at the moment. Most of the adverts are about how organizations are supporting their customers, not so much trying to sell them things. The other thing, of course, is working from home, which we talked about. I talked to one retailer who said that they'd moved 2,500 people to home in the space of about 2 weeks or something, working from home with all the challenges. A lot of people have already mentioned that. I think that the trust has finally been won by the population, if you like. Up to now, people have been very wary about allowing people to work from home, but all of a sudden, all that's gone. Trust has been won, and it's been very successful in the sense that so many people are now doing it. So yeah, we're seeing all of those things need technology to drive them, and we're seeing a lot of inquiries around that in terms of helping our customers to deploy those things.
Just picking up, Alan, if you don't mind, on a point around that. I think you're right about that, reaching out with support and businesses offering help and assistance versus selling their wares and such. I think we're coming into an interesting time for that, particularly in the retail space, where we're coming up to Christmas, that word that we don't want to, but we're 1st of October now, there's Christmas cards in the supermarkets and all of this. And I don't know if anyone's picked up, there's been a few threads on Facebook and Twitter about what's the John Lewis ad going to be this year. That's normally a kind of linchpin moment, isn't it, for what the tone of Christmas is about. And I think it'll be an interesting time over the next few months as to how people will actually position Christmas and position what they're trying to do around it, and what impact that might have on teams that are trying to support those organisations. And it's not just in retail, because I think that sentiment will get fed throughout. So I think we'll get some interesting months ahead on that as well.
You can see a headline, can't you? Christmas is about caring. I mean, it's just that's it, done, isn't it? There you are. I've done it.
So
yeah, and because that's what it'll need to be. I mean, it's not about flashy stuff, because you're not going anywhere to be flashy. It's going to be it's just going to be about the human stuff, And I think it'll be really interesting to just see how that pans out.
Definitely a sense that everybody's in this together. There's no two ways about that. And we're seeing that.
So I think that and as supply, as all of us involved in this customer industry, if you like, I think we're picking up all these vibes. I mean, I had a slight panic. It was my birthday a few weeks ago, and I was thinking, oh God, I'm trying to clear out stuff, because like all the men, shut your ears here. Well, men maybe as well, but you look around your wardrobe and you think, I've got wardrobes full of beautiful clothes for conferences and dinners and all sorts. I'm probably never going to wear these things again, not anytime soon anyway. And you start to panic a bit and think, oh my gosh, you've got a life that's needing renewed. And I think we've all got things like that in our lives, haven't we, where we think, oh gosh, we need to change or move or something. And the thought of a deluge of Christmas stuff, you just think, oh God, no.
I know, and I think the bigger impact as well is, I think people will be thankful. I mean, I'm always a glass half full person, so I'm always an optimist. And I think people will be thankful if they can actually just get together for Christmas, regardless of anything else. They want to be together, don't you? You want to be with your family, and I think that shift in priorities is quite significant, and maybe we haven't really fully realised that yet. But the fact that we're being told we can't go and see our loved ones, we can't go and visit indoors, I think if we can do that by Christmas, that will be an achievement in and of itself. And I think it'll be interesting to see how that will change people's behaviours when they're relating to different organisations, because it's that balance between people are maybe losing patience, like Rocio was mentioning. We can't use the COVID excuse any longer. So where's the sentiment? Where's the humanness, as Joe picked up on? How are we going to thread that through all of what we're doing, and at the same time trying to do that in a digital platform as well? So I think then we've had a 6 months of a rocky road, and I think it'll be interesting to see where we go in the next 6 to see how that pans out with I guess Christmas right in the middle of it.
Okay, thanks for that.
One other technology where people do need to interact. Clearly stores are still going to be open, restaurants, hotels are still going to be open. We're seeing a big drive towards contactless, not just in contactless payment, but contactless with a small c. I think and that's really going to be driven by mobile as well, mobile phones primarily. I mean, just to bore people for 30 seconds, I'm a season ticket holder at a certain foot club, and from when we're allowed back, there will be, the only entry will be by mobile phone scanning, basically. The days of tickets and even the cards that we use no longer. So there's going to be a big push around developing those technologies as we go forward as well.
That's a really important point, Alan, you've just made there about the end-to-end piece, isn't it? So, and I was in a supermarket recently, and all the the stuff, everything was happening, and hand gels and cleaning down. And I have to be honest and say I never feel safe in a supermarket, but anyway. But we got to the end, and I was chatting to the guy through his glass screen and asking him, how's things for you? And he said, this is all a waste of time. I thought it was a bit negative. He said, I'm still handling dirty money. People are still putting their hands in their pockets and giving me money. So what's the point? They do all the other stuff, and then they come and they hand me the money. So they might as well not bother. And actually, it's that it's that thing, isn't it? We're doing bits of it, we're getting there, but we haven't kind of closed the whole journey. And it only really works if it all works. And I think, just as you say there, people are going to suddenly realize, like, why do we need the paper ticket thing? It's just silly. So we, if we really are in this digital world, we need to make sure it really works, B, everybody understands it and how the role within it is, and C, that there's some sort of a really, really slick backup when people are left stranded when things don't work. And I think that these are some of for me, these are the very big issues, regardless of what sector we're in terms of how we move in this digital piece. We've probably got time.
Just to, sorry for interrupting you, there was something that Anne-Marie said, and it twigged something in my brain around something I saw from William Montgomery about, it's a nice email that comes out every week on a Monday with 10 things you didn't know last week. But one of them was a survey about the 20 most valuable things to people. And number 3 is Wi-Fi, which rates above your parents at number 7. So it just shows you that actually what the top 3 things were the NHS, a faithful partner, and Wi-Fi. And it just goes to show reliance on the digital world now has absolutely like skyrocketed. And that's now more important than nearly anything to us, which is an interesting one.
I think the most surprising thing about that is that parents are as high as number 7, but there you go.
Yeah. I hope that wasn't my son's answering those.
Certainly wasn't my son's.
I hope they want to see me for Christmas. Oh dear. Guys, we're just about out of time, I think. We've got kind of about a minute left, and I wonder, rather than plunging into another question, I think we've kind of covered most things. We've done the survey piece. We've talked a little bit about what's digital, what's over. Some really good insights from Alan there around, because you're seeing it in a different way. Some good insights there from Wojciech about how as humans we are evolving. I just wonder which bits of us are going to suddenly start sprouting to have our new digital world. For me, it will have to be different glasses, because my glasses don't work for screen and for this, so I'll have to get something. So Oracle, there's something for you there. I think we've had a very positive discussion here. Everybody's, I think, without exception, is the lowest we've had 3, and I think that's about to change from Colleen, who said they're on this journey to do more. A few 5s and 4s. So people have embraced the change positively, which I think is really, really good. And I think we've all got those good plans. So has the fallout of COVID irreparably changed our perception of customer service? Has anybody just got 10 seconds on that one before we end? Anybody on that? I've covered it, do you think?
For me, I suppose moving into a transition and following that a transformation program with a new provider, this for me is really interesting to see what everybody else does. And we had some goals in the new contract around self-service and what that would look like. And so the impact of all of this, I think, may change what our transformation would look like in a year's time and what we look to do. So for me at the moment, it's too early. Interested in what everybody else is doing and how that works out, to see how that informs what we do going forward.
And I think for me there's an element where we'll elevate the concept that we have in those moments of truth. Certainly from our point of view, how we support our vulnerable customers and having more meaningful conversations is absolutely a focus for us going forward as well.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, the age of anxiety is all around us at the moment. It is absolutely there, and we will need to support people, whether it be through digital or human channels. I'm going to end on that note, and I'd like to thank my co-hosts from Oracle. I'd like to thank all of you for taking part. And we're running these sessions. I mean, it feels like we're doing them all the time, but we're doing them all the time. We've got our Women in Leadership session running next week, if I think some of you are registered on that. We've got our update call on next Friday, I think it's one of the big sessions.
Yeah, Friday call.
This Friday coming. There's a whole catalogue being produced for the 12 months ahead. We have, I think, accepted that we will not be doing physical events for the next 12 months. So everything is very much online, but we are getting better at it. At least that's you can judge that, but I think we're getting a bit better at it perhaps in the early days. It's lovely to see so many of you, and thank you for participating so much and for providing these insights. We are going to produce the recording, and if you want recordings of anything else, then please just shout. There's so much for you. Thanks to Pauline for organising. As ever, I'm useless at these things, so Pauline does the organisation. I do the speaking, does the organisation, which works.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
It works well. Okay, so it just remains me to say thanks and have a good day, everyone. Speak soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye, guys. Thank you.